What would you hear if you could stand at the center of a city that had already been ancient for 2,000 years? What does the air smell like in a place where gods and grain share the same roads? Could you navigate a capital built not on conquest alone, but on the geometry of mud and the mathematics of floodwater? What would your hands touch first? Stone worn smooth by 10 centuries of feet, or the damp linen that clings to sleeping bodies before the heat devours the darkness? And the fuel were dropped into the year 1074 BCE, into the sprawling organism of Memphis, Egypt. Would you even recognize it as a city, or would you mistake it for something alive? Forget everything cinema has taught you. Forget the golden filters, the clean marble and the spotless robes. Memphis in the final decades of the New Kingdom is nothing like what you imagine. It is louder, it is denser, it is stranger and more fragile than any monument could suggest. And by the time you leave this place, 24 hours from now, you will understand something no textbook can teach: how civilization feels when it is still breathing. You arrive in darkness,
and if you were dropped into
not the comfortable darkness of a modern bedroom with its ambient glow of chargers and standby lights, but an ancient, total, textured darkness, the kind that presses against your skin. The air is warm and damp, thick with the mineral scent of the Nile, and beneath that, something sharper, the residue of burning animal fat from oil lamps extinguished hours ago. The ground beneath your bare feet is compacted earth, cool and slightly gritty, hardened by decades of foot traffic into something almost ceramic. You are standing in the residential quarter south of the great temple of Ptah, the patron god of this city. Around you, mud brick walls rise to roughly twice your height. Their surface is uneven and chalky, absorbing sound in a way that makes the silence feel padded. Somewhere to your left, a donkey shifts its weight in a courtyard pen. Somewhere above, on a rooftop sleeping platform, a child murmurs through a dream. Memphis does not wake all at once. It stirs in layers. The first movement belongs to the bakers. You hear them before you see them. The low thud of wooden pestles crushing emmer wheat in stone mortar. A rhythm so old it predates the pyramids at Giza. These are temple workers, attached to the estate of Ptah, processing grain collected as taxation and stored in massive cylindrical silos, whose silhouettes you can barely discern against the unlit sky. The grain itself is currency here, not metaphorically, literally. A skilled craftsman receives roughly 4 sacks of emmer and 1.5 sacks of barley per month, enough to feed a family of 5 with a small surplus for trade. Memphis breathes economically, not through coins. Those will not exist here for another 500 years, but through grain, oil, linen, and calculated exchange. As the sky shifts from black to bruised indigo, you notice movement along the canal. Water carriers, men and women with clay vessels balanced on their heads, move toward the secondary channels feeding the western blocks. Water in Memphis is not scarce, but its distribution is engineered with precision. The city sits at the apex of the delta, where the Nile fans into the branches that define Lower Egypt. Canals cut through the settlement like veins. A blocked canal does not merely inconvenience a neighborhood. It shifts disease patterns, alters crop yields, and destabilizes the food supply for thousands. You follow the carriers north toward the temple precinct. The compacted earth gives way to fragments of broken pottery and crushed limestone that crunch with each step, The walls grow taller, thicker. Painted plaster appears, faded, reds and yellows depicting offering scenes, and the repeated image of Ptah himself, wrapped in his tight sheath, holding his composite scepter. The temple of Ptah is not a single building. It is an enclosed city within the city, surrounded by a mud brick wall stretching nearly half a kilometer on each side. Inside are workshops, granaries, administrative offices, residences for priests, slaughterhouses, gardens, and at the center, stone sanctuaries where the god resides in his golden image. You cannot enter the innermost chambers. Even the priests undergo purification, shaving their bodies, abstaining from certain foods, washing in sacred water before approaching the sealed naos, where Ptah's statue waits in perfumed darkness. The first true light of dawn breaks. What you witness in the outer courtyard is not merely religious, it is administrative. The temple is the largest employer in Memphis. It controls farmland, manages cattle herds, operates textile workshops, and maintains a scribal school training the bureaucrats who will manage tax records and diplomatic correspondence. To separate religion from economy here would be like separating the river from its banks. Light arrives in a sudden flush of amber. Shadows snap into existence. Memphis accelerates. Doors open. Voices multiply. The smell of bread, flat, dense, slightly sour, mixes with smoke from cooking fires. Children emerge barefoot, darting between adults who move with the unhurried purpose of people who know exactly where the day will take them. The city is awake. And everything you think you know about ancient Egypt is about to be dismantled, 1 hour at a time. The sun has cleared the horizon by the width of 2 fists. That is how time is estimated here, by the body's relationship to the sky, and you find yourself moving east along one of the principal avenues connecting the temple precinct to the harbor district. The road is wide, roughly 8 meters across, flanked by mud brick walls forming the outer boundaries of granaries, linen storehouses, and administrative quarters of regional overseers who report to the vizier in Thebes. The road is paved with irregular limestone slabs, their joints packed with dried Nile mud. Paved roads in Memphis are rare. They exist only along routes of administrative importance, and walking on one tells you where power concentrates. Scribes in clean, white kilts carry rolled papyrus. Overseers walk in pairs, their acacia staffs held diagonally across their chests. Occasionally, a litter passes, its linen curtains drawn against the heat, concealing someone whose rank exempts them from the dust of common roads. Then the road bends, and formality breaks open into chaos. You have arrived at the open-air exchange serving the Eastern Quarter. The smell hits first: smoked fish, fresh coriander, heated sesame oil, raw flax, animal dung. Then the sound, a sustained, textured hum of overlapping voices negotiating in a language that rolls and rises at the ends of phrases in a way that sounds almost musical. There are no stalls. Sellers squat behind low, reed mats, their goods arranged with deliberate precision. A woman displays ceramic jars of honey sealed with beeswax and stamped with estate marks. Beside her, a man shows dried fish, perch and tilapia, split open, salted, sun-dried until stiff as boards. Further in, onions, garlic, lentils, and dates rise in conical mounds that seem architectural in their symmetry. No coins change hands. Every transaction is a negotiation of equivalence. A basket of figs for a jar of sesame oil.
Yes, sealed.
A length of linen for several weeks of grain. Disputes are settled by a market overseer carrying standardized stone weights and a balanced scale. These weights are among the most regulated objects in the Egyptian state. Tampering with them is prosecuted severely, not from morality, but because the entire economy depends on measurement integrity. If a weight is false, a trade is false. If a trade is false, trust collapses. And in a society without currency, the consequences cascade fast. You watch a woman examine linen held by a seller. She runs the fabric between her fingers, checking thread count, weave evenness, bleaching consistency. The difference between 12 threads per centimeter and 16 represents the difference between ordinary cloth and temple-grade material. She agrees on a price. 3 large jars of beer, sealed with a verbal agreement witnessed by the overseer. Beer. You will encounter it constantly. Not the carbonated beverage of the modern world, but a thick, slightly sweet, bread-based drink with the consistency of thin porridge, consumed by everyone, laborers, priests, children. It is nutritious, calorie-dense, and safer than untreated canal water. As you move deeper, something challenges a common assumption. This is not a primitive system struggling toward modernity. It is mature, highly adapted, functioning with remarkable efficiency within its own logic. The absence of coinage not at things. It is design. You print grain. You cannot forge more linen. The economy is anchored to physical reality, simultaneously more stable and more vulnerable than any abstraction. Everything you have seen, the grain, the linen, the weights, the negotiations, is the visible surface of a system holding 20,000 people in functional relationship without police, banks, or written contracts for most transactions. It is held together by measurement, reputation, and trust accumulated over generations. Right now, pause and do something that takes 2 seconds. Leave a comment below with the words, "I walked through Memphis." That single phrase tells me you are here, truly walking these streets alongside this narrative. And it tells the algorithm that deep, immersive history matters. Your comment is not small. It is the reason the next chapter exists. The midday heat does not merely warm you. It occupies you. It enters through your scalp, presses into your shoulders, settles into your chest like something with weight. The temperature has crossed 40 degrees, and Memphis responds with a collective retreat. Not laziness, but survival strategy, refined over centuries. Streets that were crowded 2 hours ago are deserted. Windows cut high into mud brick, walls are covered with dampened linen, creating crude but effective evaporative cooling. Families rest on low, wooden beds strung with palm fiber, breathing slow and deliberate. You have taken refuge in the courtyard of a mid-ranking official's home, 6 rooms around a central open space. Walls are plastered and painted with geometric patterns in blue and white that create an optical illusion of coolness. In one corner, a large ceramic water jar sits on a porous clay stand, its surface beaded with moisture that evaporates and cools the air by several degrees. This is technology, not gleaming mechanical technology, but the application of understood physical principles to solve a persistent problem. and works. From inside the house, a woman is singing, not performing, but singing the way people sing when they believe no one important is listening. The melody rises and falls like breathing. The words concerning the river, the Nile, is never far from any conversation in Memphis. It is the organizing principle of everything: agriculture, religion, architecture, calendar, identity. When the water rises, planting follows. When it recedes, harvest begins. When it fails, and it does fail, periodically, catastrophically, everything unravels. Consider the house itself. Mud brick, Nile mud, straw, and sand pressed into molds and dried in the sun. Often dismissed as primitive, it possesses remarkable thermal properties. It absorbs heat slowly during the day and releases it slowly at night. Walls roughly 40 centimeters thick hold interior temperature near 28 degrees, when the exterior reaches 42. That 14-degree differential is the difference between discomfort and danger, achieved without energy input beyond the labor of making bricks. The roofs are flat, palm logs covered with reed, matting and sealed with mud. Shelter below, living space above. When night falls, rooftops become the coolest part of the house. And families migrate upward to sleep under stars so dense the Milky Way casts a visible shadow. You enter a small room at the back functioning as a domestic shrine. On a low shelf sits a limestone figure of base, the dwarf god protecting households, women in childbirth, sleeping children. Crudely carved, but carefully maintained, with traces of fresh oil and a small bread offering. Religion in Memphis is not confined to temples. It permeates domestic life in ways intimate, practical, invisible to outsiders. Every household maintains its own relationship with protective deities, daily practices as routine as eating, as essential as water. Adjacent is the kitchen, a clay oven built into the floor, a grinding stone, storage jars of beer, oil, dried legumes. Bread was made this morning, as every morning, because bread here is not a food category, it is a foundation. It appears at every meal, every offering, every wage calculation. Grain is more valuable than gold in practical terms, because gold cannot sustain a body through a day of labor under the Egyptian sun. The light shifts. High, noon softens into something amber. Shadows extend. The city prepares to exhale. A sound reaches you from beyond the walls. The rhythmic clang of copper on copper from the metalworking district. Between the residential quarter and the harbor, Memphis is one of the most important manufacturing centers in the ancient world. Copper, bronze, and gold are worked in open-air workshops glowing with charcoal furnaces. Lost wax casting, cold hammering, annealing, riveting, centuries of knowledge passed, master to apprentice in an unbroken chain connecting these artisans to predecessors who were ancient when the Great Pyramid was new. They are engineers working at the molecular level, manipulating the crystalline structure of metals through heat and force. The sound carries through heavy air like a heartbeat. Memphis is not a ruin, not a museum. It is a working city of staggering complexity, held together by systems so integrated that removing any single element would cause the entire structure to falter. The afternoon heat has cracked.
Next in line.
Its peak has passed. And Memphis responds with a second awakening more vital than the first. The morning belonged to obligation. The late afternoon belongs to something more fluid, more human, more revealing of who these people are when civilization loosens its grip. You walk toward the harbor, and the acoustic landscape transforms. Enclosed corridors give way to open ground, where sound spreads and softens, mixing with the rush of moving water. You smell the river before you see it. Wet earth,
Is that enough for the
decomposing
loaf?
vegetation,
Needs a little more on the wake.
fish, something metallic from mineral-rich silt. Then the Nile opens before you. The river at Memphis is not the narrow, controlled waterway of modern Egypt. It is broad, muscular, hundreds of meters across, moving with deceptive calm, concealing powerful currents. The color is deep greenish-brown, opaque with sediment, catching the lowering sun in shifting patterns of gold and copper. Papyrus reeds rustle along both banks. Egrets stand, motionless in the shallows, white bodies blazing against dark water. The harbor is a partially constructed inlet reinforced with stone blocks. Moored along its edge are papyrus reed boats, flat-bottomed cargo barges with square sails, and larger vessels with raised prows suggesting long-distance travel. Sailors move with the confidence of people who understand water the way farmers understand soil. Instinctively, physically, through knowledge living in the body. A cargo barge is being unloaded. Large ceramic jars filled with wine from the Delta vineyards. Wine here is luxury, consumed by the elite and offered to gods. The jars are sealed, with clay stoppers stamped with vineyard of origin, year of production, sometimes the vintner's name. Quality control, traceability, the ancestor of every label on every bottle in every store you have ever entered. Beyond the harbor, the necropolis of Saqqara spreads across the desert plateau. The step pyramid of Djoser stands angular against the sky. Hundreds of mastaba tombs surround it like a city imitating the living one below. The mortuary industry employs thousands: embalmers, coffin makers, linen wrappers, amulet carvers, tombi painters. Their work requires natron salt from the western desert, resins from Lebanon. Death in ancient Egypt is an economic sector, and a major one. As the sun drops lower, something shifts beyond commerce. Families appear along the riverbank. Children chase crabs on mudflats. Women wash linen in the shallows, beating it against flat stones. Men share beer from communal jars, conversations low and punctuated by laughter. An old man fishes from a reed boat, his line a twisted flax thread with a copper hook, his patience absolute. This is the hour when Memphis reveals what records cannot capture, the ordinary warmth of human beings who love their children. Enjoy the evening air. Tell stories heard 100 times. Find comfort in the predictable return of night after day, flood after flood. They do not know their city will decline. They do not know the capital will shift to Thebes and then Alexandria. They do not know this ground will be buried under meters of sediment for millennia. They know only this evening, this river, this light. Civilization is not built by pharaohs alone. It is built by every woman grinding grain at dawn, every scribe copying a ledger without error, every metalworker heating copper to precisely the right temperature, every child learning to read the river by its color. Night falls on Memphis without negotiation. The sun touches the western desert and drops with a finality that startles you. Within minutes, the sky transitions from amber to violet to a darkness so complete it feels structural. Then the stars arrive, not gradually, but all at once, in an overwhelming cascade filling every corner of the visible sky with a density that makes you hold your breath. You are on the rooftop of the house where you sheltered at midday. The mud brick beneath your feet still radiates warmth, almost organic, like standing on the back of something large and sleeping. Across the quarter, families have arranged reed mats and linen for rooftop sleeping. The city has migrated upward. Streets below are dark and silent. Rooftops are alive with the quiet sounds of civilization preparing for rest, murmured conversations, the clink of ceramic cups,
Thank you, madam.
a baby's fussing soothed by a voice so gentle it barely registers. The woman who was singing earlier tells her children a story about Thoth, the ibis-headed god of wisdom. Her voice has the cadence of someone reciting from memory. The tale involves Thoth mediating the dispute between Horus and Set, a narrative every Egyptian knows, explaining not just divine relationships, but the principles of justice, patience, and the restoration of rightful order. These are not bedtime stories in the trivial sense. They are the delivery system for a civilization's values, transmitted nightly, absorbed unconsciously, shaping the moral architecture of every generation. From the rooftop you see the glow of the temple precinct, oil lamps burning in outer courtyards through the night. Priests assigned to the astronomical watch stand on elevated platforms, tracking star groups across the sky. This is not astrology. This is calibration. The Egyptian calendar, agricultural cycle, timing of festivals, all depend on precise stellar observation. The priests of Memphis are among the most skilled astronomers in the ancient world, cataloging patterns that Greek astronomers will later rename and claim as original. The temperature has dropped from 42 to 24 degrees. A northern breeze carries the scent of the river and the faintest trace of kifi, the ritual incense compound of honey, wine, raisins, myrrh, and juniper whose proportions are guarded as sacred knowledge. The smell is sweet and resinous, shifting with each breath, revealing layers like a slowly opening hand. Below, a night watchman moves through darkness carrying an oil lamp, throwing a circle of light no larger than 2 meters. He walks slowly, deliberately. His job is not merely preventing theft. He is the city's immune system, detecting an open door that should be closed, a sound from a quarter that should be empty, smoke where no fire should burn. You lie back and face the sky. The constellation Messiktu, later named Ursa Major, wheels around the celestial pole. To the south, Sopdet, Sirius, hangs low, its heliacal rising still months away, but already a promise. When Sopdet rises before dawn, the flood begins. One star, one river, one civilization. The simplicity is deceptive. Behind it lies observation, calculation, and institutional memory, maintained continuously for longer than most modern nations have existed. The children nearby have fallen asleep. Their mother remains awake at the roof's edge, looking over the city with something between vigilance and gratitude, the particular state of a parent who has fed her children, sheltered them, told them the stories they need, and now watches over them in the 1 hour that belongs entirely to her. This is Memphis. Not the Memphis of kings, though those exist. This is the Memphis of 40,000 ordinary decisions made daily by people who will never be carved into stone. The woman grinding grain, the scribe copying figures, the metalworker reading the color of heated copper, the watchman walking darkness so old it remembers the first city ever built on this ground. What you take from this place is not facts. It is a feeling. Standing inside a living system so intricate, so deeply adapted, so profoundly human, that calling it ancient feels like an insult. It is foundational. Every city you have lived in, every economy you have participated in, every calendar you have followed, all carry a trace of what was built here. On this river, under these stars, by these hands, Memphis did not fall because it was weak. It fell because rivers shift, power migrates, sand covers what water once fed. But what it built, the systems, the knowledge, the habits of civilization, those did not fall, they traveled. They survived. And they are still alive. Right now, in the way you organize your day and look up at the night sky wondering if anyone is looking back. Confira se já é inscrito neste canal. There are more cities, more centuries, more hidden worlds waiting to be walked through. And every one of them will change the way you understand the ground beneath your feet. If you have made it to this final moment, you are not a casual viewer. You are a traveler, and I need to know you are here. Leave a comment right now saying, I watched until the end. So I can know who you are, so I can understand who truly loves the stories on this channel. Hit the like button. It costs nothing but fuels everything. It is the single, most powerful thing you can do to ensure this kind of deep, immersive storytelling continues to exist. And share this video, because somewhere in your life, there is a person who needs to know that 3,100 years ago, on a rooftop in Memphis, a mother watched the stars and felt the same thing they feel tonight. Send them this story. Let Memphis live again, one viewer at a time.